Hi, I'm Erin Marcus, former corporate executive turned entrepreneur and founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business. Welcome to the Ready Yet podcast. We're excited to bring you more than 100 episodes of interviews and insights designed to help entrepreneurs get the financial and emotional freedom they need in order to build a business and a life they're proud of. All right. Welcome to this episode of the Ready Yet podcast, where I want to show you today what is possible and who you get to play in the sandbox with when you just say hello to somebody. Because I think that's all that happened, right? I think I met you on LinkedIn.
That's where the love affair began.
Right? Like, just go meet people. Don't make it any harder than that. And here we are. We had fun when we met. We had fun today before we hit. I love talking to you. I know people like can't even pick a topic, right? We can't even pick a topic. So let's jump off with your book, because I definitely want to get that in there, and we'll see where else it leads.
There it is.
And I'm just this is what's wrong with me in a nutshell.
Go on. Probably the same.
Hold that back up again. This is what's wrong with Erin in a nutshell. I look at that picture and there is no negative, like, to me, I smile.
Mission accomplished.
So let's go to the topic of the book, and we can talk about our conversation about physical appearance and the use of that, using what you got. We can talk about all of it, but
of course.
Tell me what the book's about.
Well, it's called Going the Distance. My name is Corey Disson, so we obviously played off of the name, got the branding in there. Big lesson there. Lesson number 1 today. Right. 10 rounds to a championship life and career. Life lessons inside a tribute wrapped in a memoir. That's what the book is about. And, it's part self-help book, part motivational speech, part biography. And I wanted to, I've read my share of self-help books and life coaching books, some of which were very cool, other are very dry and boring. I wanted to come up with something that was different.
Well, and I'm going to stop you for 1 second,
Sure.
because I think maybe that's the interesting piece to me. Okay. Because on the surface, the picture that you have on the cover of that book is not someone I would look at and go, wow, he's read a bunch of self-help books, right? Not the first
thought. He can read. That guy can read.
A, he can read. B, he actually wanted to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, that's part of the creating the intrigue. That was part of the point of when I wrote this book. I had that picture in my head before I took it. I knew that was going to be the picture. I knew where I was going to get it taken. And I asked permission to get it taken at that place, preparing for the book. So it all meant something.
It's the emotion, right? It's the intention, the emotion, the reason for it all manifested in an image.
Intensity, toughness, but it's also to capture attention. Mm-hmm. That's what I teach people how to do, is to capture attention. So if I can't do that in a very crazy way myself, what am I doing charging money for it? So that's what I put that out there for. And I as much as I've read, I don't necessarily enjoy reading. Okay. Because my attention span is short. And if I'm going to read a book, it's got to be something that's going to keep me captive. Mm-hmm. So I wanted my book to be something for someone like me. Perfect. Easy to digest, bite-sized, snackable pieces that you don't have to, spend 6 months trying to dive through it, or you need a thesaurus to figure it out. I just wanted to keep it simple and present it in a way that was very much, the book takes a life is a fight metaphor.
And there's so much against the harshness that you could choose to interpret that with. And I think that is unfortunate. I think, this podcast is called Ready Yet. The tagline is, you'll never do what it takes until you become the person it takes to do it. And if I had to pick a trait to start out with, it's resilience.
Oh my God, resilience, toughness, and the underlying layer to the book, which ties us in a nice, neat little bow, is that I am paying homage. I'm paying tribute to 10 people. There's 10 chapters. We call them rounds, like a boxing match. There are 10 rounds, and I'm paying tribute to these 10 people that helped to create all of this. The people in my life that made me me.
Yeah.
And the point is, here's what these people did for me. These are the lessons that I learned from them. I want you to meet them. I want you to hang out with them for a chapter, and then take the same lesson I learned and put it in your back pocket so it helps you like it helped me. And you'd be surprised how simple some of the lessons are that you
Right.
learn.
They're seldom complicated. Doing them is not always easy because you have to break through your habits and break through your thoughts, but they're very seldom are they complicated.
Yeah, they're right in front of your face. And, that's the other thing. I didn't want to get into some oratory or some philosophical discussion about how they're not theories. This isn't something I took a class on. This was my life. These are real events that happened that shaped me, that jarred me and said, wait a minute, you better pay attention to that. And then the really weird thing is, lessons that I learned at 14, 15, 17, 20 started to stack with the ones at 25 and 30, 37. And they all fit together, and you keep using them. And it's almost like turning a cube to the right side at the right time. I have to tap into this. It's not necessarily a conscious decision,
I was
but
going
if
to
you
just say that about the awareness, because I think one of the reasons people run into problems is they don't have any kind of level of awareness. There's no self-reflection. There's no self-awareness, as I keep repeating, to maneuver.
Well, I mean, look, you have to know who you are, where you're at, where you're going.
Mhm.
And if you're just spending your whole life like a leaf in the wind being pulled in a million different directions, chances are you're going to resent a lot of people and be very unhappy when you're older. The
Yes.
people that you meet in this book and the people that I talk about and the people that I preach about to my clients as a coach and all these kind of things teaches you to be self-reliant, to be independent, to push your way through life, to knock down doors, to listen to people when they talk. Don't just hear them. Take advantage of opportunities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All that stuff, you know, I was very fortunate that I started working in the professional world at age 19 years old. I had a much nicer head of hair then.
I'm sure that's why
Uh,
I hired you.
and if I was a cop, I'd have a gold watch and a pension because I'm in my 50s now. I had 30 years of professional experience. But that wasn't my path. My path was, okay, I worked as a pro, I ran a big company. Now that I have all of this stuff in the big bald noggin, we can't just leave it there. Obviously, I'm giving it to my children, but there's an opportunity, there's a vehicle now to pass it on to other people and pay it forward. And hopefully someone else can, listen to me and not just hear me and use that for their own success. So
Well,
that's kind of the book in a nutshell.
well, and what I like about it, and you and I, we know we're in alignment about this. There's so much, there's so many people who are so unhappy. And it's because my opinion, and I'm as blunt as you are. I just don't have quite the deep voice and the large stature to go with it. But that's okay. It works for me. Get away with it anyway. Yeah, the difference is I get away with it and you get punched. That's it, right? That's it.
I get to punch back though. Just be ready.
But there's so many people who are so unhappy, and there's so many people that are waiting for someone else to change it.
It's
Like, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's like my tagline is be in charge, take action, right? It's that straightforward. You cannot play the victim and be entitled. Like it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And does it here, like my big thing is there's a million things that need to change in this world. I don't care what you believe in, which side you're on, any of that. We can all agree there's a lot of things that need to change in this world.
sure.
But why would you give up your one turn at this life waiting for that change to happen? That's the piece I don't understand.
you and I are wired very differently than a large swath of the people on this big blue marble. There's a lot of entitlement. There's a lot of, I say, listening to the radio station called WIFM. You ever heard of that station?
Right,
What's in it
exactly.
for me? They're walking around like this with their hand out. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? Instead of, I was taught, and this ties back to the book again, self-reliance, independence.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what you need me to do for you. Go do it yourself. Go do it yourself. And that was something that was ingrained in me. I'm talking at 7, 8 years old. Came from the generation where I wore a key around my neck with a
I
string.
work, my brother, there's one in a tree. We had these lanyards, right? You had the lanyards with the key on them. Well, my brother would walk and spin his on his finger. So there's one in the sewer, there's one up in the tree. Like forever.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
just
look,
ended up having to sit in the yard. I mean,
it was trial by fire. And it wasn't like my
100%.
parents were trying to be mean or anything. They
No.
wanted, my father always told me, when you leave this house, I want to know that you can take care of yourself.
Right.
And that was everything from letting yourself in out of school to preparing a meal to even, I talk about this in the book where I was in high school and I was having an issue with a teacher for whatever the reason. My mother was a teacher. So I figured, I can go home and talk to mom and she would understand because she's a teacher. You know what her answer was to me? She said, "You want me to go have a conference with your teacher to talk about your problem?" I said, "Well, yeah." She goes, "No, no, you're going to schedule your own conference." And I had to literally go to the teacher and say, "I'd like to have an after school conference with you," conduct the conference. And we cleared the air and figured it out and all was forgiven. But the point my mother was trying to make at that juncture was take care of yourself. I'm not doing it for you. And that was with everything: school, work, work ethic, athletics, grades, even just, taking care of, household chores, whatever it is. They wanted that peace of mind that if they got hit by a bus, I could take care of
Right.
myself.
And,
You know,
and I think where the magic happens, where the magic for me and what I see, where the magic happens is when you combine everything we've been talking about with the anything's possible side, right? Like
absolutely.
this type of, get there and grind just to, like you said, just to get a shitty pension and a gold watch. That's not fun. But this
No,
type of grind to create the world you want for yourself is worth it every day.
that's why we get up in the morning, you and I.
Yeah,
Is
and that's where people think it's one or the other. They think, well, you either are handed the big fancy, which very few people are. You got to go make your big fancy if you weren't handed to it.
I mean, look, I'm living proof of that. I'm not a Rhodes Scholar. I can't run a 4 flat 40.
Can't run the
Uh,
40.
yeah, I mean,
have to stop and breathe along the way.
my
You
time in the
and I
40
lift
is
the same way. I did heavy lifting. I didn't do it. This is not an endurance body, right? I lift
my
real
point
heavy
is I didn't
things
do
at
anything
one
that
time.
spectacular. But what I could do is I wasn't allergic to hard work.
Right.
I got no problem showing up early, staying late,
Yeah.
working, volunteering, working for free because I know that was getting me street cred and making relationships. And I could see down the road a few chess moves. If I just do this, then this will happen.
Well, and so you see now, and I was the same way. Do the work, prove your value, get the promotion. Not get the promotion and then do the work. Now, the flip side is, does that mean that there aren't corporations out there treating people like crap?
All the time.
Absolutely. Is that
Yep.
acceptable? No. But why would you sit there and complain? I didn't need the way that I say this is I didn't need a social movement to tell me to quit every job I hated.
You did that.
Just right, like you suck, the job sucks, the money sucks, out of here.
What I tell people is, and what you're talking about is you have to learn how to Shawshank your life. And, if you're not familiar with the Shawshank Redemption, well, that's your homework, people. Go watch the Shawshank Redemption because it talks a lot about patience and planning ahead, just to
Yes.
say it lightly. And I was in a situation where I worked for somebody else. I was top dog, making mad bank, but I wasn't fulfilled and I was miserable. So I said, what can I do to Shawshank my life, to break free of this, be dependent on no one, call my own shots, call Yahtzee on the world, and do whatever the hell I want? And there's a series of steps that I took, but it all boils down to just being able to outwork the next person, get up earlier. And I don't mean get up at 6 instead of 6:30. Get up at 3 and do this, that, or the other. Go to bed late, sacrifice something. Nobody wants to sacrifice anything, Erin.
Yeah. And maybe it's age. I do believe it's more focused, not more hours, but I also know we all have the same, if you look at the people, and Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are examples right now. If you look at what they have on their plates, do they have millions of dollars at their disposal so that they can have a date in Australia? 100%. But put it down to your life. We complain we can't go out on a Saturday night, and yet we have they have the same amount of hours that we do.
Well, it's priorities.
Oh my God, that is my magic word. And this is like, you do not understand that every single action that you take, you understand. People do not understand that every single action that they take comes down to a simple equation. What is more important to you? Every
Priorities.
single
I deal with
time.
it all the time, Erin. I do it
Every time.
all the time. It's like you got to make the decision if you want to get to the promised land, whatever that is for you. The perfect job, the perfect home, the perfect area of the country, whatever your
Whatever it
retirement,
is.
whatever it is, you have to be willing to do X, Y, Z first.
I mean, and it's so pervasive in our lives. If you just look at this, I know somebody who has an elderly parent. That parent lives in Florida. This person is far left. They don't want to go to Florida because they don't want to give the state of Florida any money by way of sales tax, whatever, have whatever belief you want. And I go back to your priority. So what you are telling me, it is more important that you don't give the state of Florida the $7 that you would give them while they're there than it is to see an elderly parent.
Wow.
It's that simple of a priority, but we don't realize it. And I get it, in the moment with all the emotions, we don't realize it. But if you really look at everything you do and don't do as black and white, what's more important to me, this or the antithesis of it, this or that?
But most people are afraid of the sacrifice. It's hard
It
to
is.
sacrifice. And look, I'm I'm preaching to the choir here because you understand this, but for the folks that aren't wired the same way of how we live and what we teach, what we think is very matter of fact is there's just like a huge chasm
Is
between
that your nice way of telling me I'm a little weird?
you're weird like me. We're both weird. I mean, I'm right there with you. Most people think I'm weird. I mean,
Most
and
people think I'm
I say
weird.
that I'm proud of that. I
I
like being different. I like being the outlaw. I like putting out on social media that I do the same 10 things every stinking day.
Yeah, I can't do that.
I'm very consistent. The
I know
joke that I
you
make
are.
is if anybody ever wanted to assassinate me,
It'd be so
very
easy.
easy.
I know
I do the
exactly where to
same
find you.
thing. Yeah, I'm very boring, but
But here's the thing. You're totally 100% living life on your terms.
1,000,000%. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
And you don't have to be boring, in case you don't confuse what we're
Yeah,
saying.
everybody has a
You
different
don't have
flavor,
to be boring to live life on your terms.
but you do have to be consistent.
You have to be consistent. You have to do the work.
You can have a very fancy life as long as you're consistently fancy.
Yes.
It's the variation, if you're sporadic or if you only do things when you feel like it, you're not going to get where you want to be. I always say action without emotion. Do the action. Go
Well,
to the
and
gym,
I think
eat
one
the
of the
healthy meal.
reasons, yeah, and I think one of the reasons, like we can talk about marketing and advertising and, forget the conspiracy theory to keep you down and all, but forget all even that. People make a decision, they want the thing, but unfortunately, we've been in the last however many generations kind of been told it should be easy, and that if it's hard, it's wrong.
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, we've experienced the continued emphasis on laziness. That's the easiest way I can articulate it, because there's been one piece of
Softest way
tech
that
or
you
something that
can.
has come along that has removed the human effort. Everything from how we cook our food to how we talk on the phone to how we access
Here's a
information.
perfect example. I bought a chair today online, and I'm pissed. Today's Wednesday, and I'm pissed because it's not coming here until Monday. I bought a chair for $100 with free shipping, and here I'm sitting. I don't even have to leave my house. It ain't gonna fit in the right, and that's the problem.
But that's the culture now. It's because
Right.
there's a lot, all of this, all of this. It's kind of a lackadaisical sort of approach. I don't have to move with urgency. I can press a button and get what I want. And people equate all of those things in the culture to how they should, attack their life. And it just doesn't work that way.
Well, and
Especially
I think we're also realizing that as several of our institutions break down, the healthcare system is breaking down. You can't get a hold of the doctor. You can't get into the doctor. I can't get my very routine prescription refilled. The systems are breaking down.
It's a mess.
It's, I don't even get me started on what American Airlines did. They totally fixed it. They came through, they totally fixed it. But holy crap, and it was just a matter of systems breaking down. And
But
so
we're
what was
surrounded by all of these systems, whatever it is, in healthcare and politics, in your daily lives, whatever it is, your people can choose to be at the mercy of those systems, or they could start calling the shots.
right.
But most folks either don't know what to do, don't have the basic routines or steps in place to create that control they desperately want and that they complain they don't have. That's the root right there. It's like, well, I can't do that. I'm not able to do that, so I'll just piss and moan about it. Well, I kind of just grab you by the shoulders and go,
And it's one of the reasons, and I think we chatted about this when we met. It's one of the reasons that I think athletes are so interesting when it comes to owning a business and having and doing other things, because they've been trained through something they were interested in on creating a routine, doing the work. In particular, I'm a big fan. I was in powerlifting. My favorite thing I got out of that was you're not hurt, you're just uncomfortable. And my second favorite thing is failure is the goal. I'm not done lifting until I can't lift anymore. Failure is not a problem, it's the actual goal.
yeah, because now you know where the new line of demarcation is.
Right. And being able, I had a coach say this to me. I love working with people who are athletes or are athletes because they understand work the plan. An
Oh,
off day doesn't mean the plan didn't work. It just means you still have to work the plan.
I have the benefit of, yes, being athletic. Like I said, I'm not getting on stage in a G-string and posing, but I'm stronger than the average bear, and I like to lift heavy things. But I've applied that ethic,
Yes.
but I'm the parent of a professional athlete. So I get to sit in the cheap seats and watch it happen, about the routine and the plan. And if you want to get to that kind of level, it's all about routine, small steps, failure, pushing through. That's why a very minute percentage of the world gets there.
Did you read? I love the book. It's a little long, but the book, Does It Make the Boat Go Faster?
I did not read that book.
It's about, I believe, the English rowing team. I'm going to screw up the words. And it's about a guy who is on the team and then a business life coach, and they take turns writing chapters. And the rower tells the story of the British team that had fallen apart and how they got back on track. And then the coach applies it in the next chapter.
I got you.
Right. And it's literally the way they did it is it came down to every minor, teeny tiny decision Did it make the boat go faster? If it didn't make the boat go faster, they didn't do it.
Right. And it's the accumulation of those little teeny tiny things that turn into bigger things and bigger things and bigger things.
And gold
And
medals.
the way that I translate that to the people that I deal with every day is most people in their lives spend their lives either staring at or dreaming of the summit of Mount Everest. I tell them, don't look at the top, look at your feet. Look at your feet. Take one step, then
So true.
another, and another, and eventually
You're
you'll
holy
get
crap,
there.
there you are. Right, because humans have this weird thing where we're very all or nothing. I'm not there, so I might as well do nothing.
Well, they're defeated. They feel like they failed if they didn't magically teleport from the base of the mountain to the top. And then they give up. And or they get 100 yards up and they say, oh man,
This is hard.
this is hard. The air is thin.
There's
I'm out of
actual
here.
work to do.
Yeah, I'm out of here. I'm bailing. So it's, they either quit or they fail to even begin to try. And it's that is pervasive.
So I have a random personal question.
Go for it.
How did you pick this? How did you, yeah, like my journey out of corporate, I owned a franchise. This is really what I was doing all along. So the reason I do what I do is because it was really removing all of the crap to get to what I'm like, this is my square inch of genius.
You
How
damn
did you
near
pick
answered
this?
your own question, because it's very similar for me too, because I've always
Are you
been
sure we're not related? Like we're freaking twins. It's
I've
hysterical.
always been the shop steward, the supervisor, the manager, the leader, the captain, all those things. And especially as I was running a company, I was responsible for making sure everyone pulled on the same side of the rope to get the money in the house. Everybody wins, gets their paycheck. But I fell out of love with that particular company for a million different reasons that we don't have time to talk about. And I didn't know that this was a thing.
Me neither. I had no idea.
I didn't know. And I'll tell you, I got to give credit where it's due. And I know if you don't know who this gentleman is, I highly recommend you connect with him. There's a gentleman who just me scrolling through LinkedIn. I'm talking, this is like 2016, 2017. And I bumped into this guy named Steve Nudelberg, Nudle, Nudelberg. And he was doing these little talking head videos and he's motivating sales teams and he wrote a book and and he's got this whole thing. And I was like, I can do that. Maybe not the same as him because he was real good. He still is. I mad respect for this man. So I literally one day, just out of the blue, I shot him a note on LinkedIn. And I said, hey man, I really like what you're doing. It was some piece of content I saw or something. I said, I'd love to hop on the phone and pick your brain. And lucky me, he called me. And we had a conversation. And I said to him, I said, man, Steve, if I can be half as successful as you, I would be just super fired up. And he said to me something that was like a Louisville slugger hitting me in the forehead. It still resonates to me to this day. And I share it with everybody. He said, Corey, you are what you say you are.
Yeah.
He said, you basically saying, you got this. Go do it. Just do it. So here we are fast forwarding here. Now we're in 2024. And yeah, I got the book now.
Yeah.
I'm doing the talking head stuff. I called Yahtzee and left the big company and went from employee to entrepreneur. And now I just want to tell everybody how I did it, which I think has a very high value.
Yes.
And I earn a couple bucks off it and I get to go out to eat once a week. It's all good.
It's all good. I'm going to flip it on us though.
Okay.
What's something, let's shorten people's learning curves. One way you do that is with all the advice. Another way to shorten people's learning curves is I call, if you just don't do what I did, you'll be ahead of the game, right?
Okay. If you
What don't do what I did. What were some of the things that didn't work that you're like, just don't do what I did, you'll be ahead of the game?
One thing that I did too much, and it took me a long time to learn how to control it, is I acted emotionally. I had a temper, terrible temper. I mean, just fierce, hair trigger, didn't take much. And what usually happened is I said some dumb shit.
That's all that happened. We're good, right?
And, I probably could have handled some situations better. I mean, in my mind, I was being assertive and standing up for myself. And there was probably a layer of that too. But now, the easiest way I can describe it, I'm able to be much more Michael Corleone. I, I don't have to speak as loud. I could say what I want to say in fewer words, and I can just keep it to the facts. And boy, that it comes in handy if
It's so
you don't
true.
get service at a car dealership, or you're trying to get something delivered. You just had to deal with American Airlines. I'm sure you pulled, a few nuggets for that, but you learn how to be tactful,
Yeah.
but you can still be firm and upfront and
It's
tough without
boundaries.
being.
You can have boundaries without being a jerk.
I had to learn that. I wasn't always very good at that. That took some practice because I have vivid memories of blasting clients if they owed us money. And to one point, one big ad agency wrote a letter to the owner telling him to fire me
Yeah.
because I went so bananas. But yeah, I mean I would start with that as like I had to learn to kind of control
Regulate your emotions.
a little more Bruce Banner, a little less Hulk.
Well, and I think, okay, so for you, it came out in anger, but I think it's really, the lesson is whatever your out of control emotion is. Maybe it's not anger, maybe it's retreat, right? If you give up just as easily and cower, well, that's not helpful either, right? I mean, you can apply that.
Take your time. Think.
Yeah.
Think about it. A lesson that I learned, not in the book, but something that's very relevant, just in the business world was you don't have to make the decision immediately.
I said, none of us are working in the ER here.
You can make the decision tomorrow. If there was some
Yeah.
hot topic or something that was inflammatory or some bad situation to deal with, you didn't have to make the call right then. Sleep on it. Think about it. And then it'll still be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I was always like, action, 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 like Tasmanian devil, bull in a china closet, just go, make a mess. And I had to learn just to sometimes,
Oh, your role.
cool it, brother.
Oh,
Cool it.
your role. What do
Yeah.
I
So
say? You're
that
at
was
a
the
10.
thing.
I need you at a 5, right?
That's probably the reason why I lost all my hair. Probably singed off because I was always burning about something.
That's awesome. So now that we've scared everybody away, no. If people want to continue this conversation with you, learn more about you, what you do, how you help people, all the cool things, get a hold of your book, which is awesome. What is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
I mean, you literally CoreyDissin.com, CoreyDissin.com. I always joke, if you Google me and you can't find me, I'm probably the worst marketing person you'll ever meet. So it should be fairly easy. If you just Google my name, there's millions of things, but CoreyDissin.com, you can get the book right off of there. You can contact me off of there. I'm all over social media. Heck, you and I aren't even
That's
sitting
how
here
we, yeah.
if it wasn't for LinkedIn, which is a beautiful thing because I believe we're fighting the same fight. And I'm grateful that we had the opportunity to talk today.
Well, I highly recommend. I can tell everyone you do reply. So this is awesome. Thank you for spending your time with me, your energy. I'm excited about what comes next for us, even though I don't know what that is. I'm sure we'll come up with something.
Hey, man, let's rock. I'm ready.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. I truly enjoy bringing these stories of success and inspiration to you. Please join us in our mission to empower entrepreneurs to be in charge of their businesses and in charge of their lives by sharing this with anyone you know who would benefit from our tactical and motivating advice, leaving us a review, and letting us know if there are any particular topics you would really appreciate hearing about. See you next time.